Thanks for checking out this highlight from the Casually Hardcore podcast. If you want to check out the full podcast after the show, please be sure to hit the top link in the description. But now, let's do it. So I want to talk about PSO2 New Genesis, and Mystics, you brought that up as a part of one of the games that you're really excited about. What about it being an 8-year-old, like, MMO light, and then them kind of, what about it do you think is the most compelling overall?
For me specifically, it's the fact that we can go in and play with our community within an anime-based MMO. I absolutely love creating the characters, and I love the complexity of the classes, and I love the ability to just run around with friends in a world. That's fun for me.
Yeah. Is there a particular class that you might be considering over any others? The start?
I literally just go in and go for whichever one I feel like at the moment. I think I play Bouncer within PSO2, right?
I have been playing PSO2 for years, and still, I have no idea what class I am. So,
yeah, I carry a weapon and I hit things.
I kick people with like laser beam feet things. Like that's my class. I don't know what class that is, but like that's what I do.
That's fantastic.
That's how you do every MMO.
Was this the announcement of New Genesis surprising to either of y'all? Like, is it because this is something that I feel like hasn't been done before, but I could be wrong.
You want to answer first, or you want me to? Okay. Well, PSO2, like, they had announced that episode 6 was coming, and that was supposed to be the end of the content for PSO2 that was known at that time. And Microsoft had just recently purchased publishing rights for PSO2 for North America and outside of North America. And, like, all that money had to be going somewhere. So I was always curious what Sega's next thing was going to be. Like, were they going to make another PSO title like PSO3? Or, like, because you don't just get given like hundreds of millions of dollars and go, okay, thanks, and then just peace out, right? So when they announced that they were making New Genesis, I was of the opinion that it was just going to be like an alternate story or something like that. And it turns out not only is it a complete graphical overhaul, a complete overhaul to the gameplay itself and all of the mechanics and features within the game, but it's also its own unique game as well that's set, like, with it'll have its own launcher and it's its own standalone title. So to me, that was mind-blowing because I didn't expect them to go to, like such a length.
Yeah.
To create something that is based on an 8-9-year-old title. So
and to have it as a part of the same game. So it's that as we play it, we literally can switch between the two versions of the game, which is like one of the things Chris and I have been watching very closely. Like when we compare this to Destiny's 2 Beyond Light, hey, we're going to just delete out the last 3 years of content. Here you go. When we compare that to World of Warcraft Cataclysm, and now you have Classic and you have like retail, is the terminology I would assume. And then you have also like Final Fantasy, where it's like, yep, that we've destroyed the 1.0. We're now into like this whole 2.0 and forward. It's such a fascinating piece that I wonder. I'm hopeful that it's successful because it could be the way to solve the problem of that 10-year game that actually is more of a 20 or a 30 or like where people just continue to play it and keep returning to it and more, which was the promise kind of originally. But it's always interesting to hear like how that at least the industry developed, because like with Final Fantasy XI, they didn't expect it to be more than like a 4 or 6 year game, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, this is big. People want this stuff.
WoW went through that same growth around the same time. I mean, they shut down almost every other project and said, we need you all on WoW. We have built an enormous problem. Like we have got to keep these servers up. I think following the money is an interesting thing to point out. I think when you talk about Microsoft buying it, I didn't even think about like, okay, they paid a lot. I think we did the same. We watched Disney do the same thing with Star Wars. They bought a franchise in its last chapter. Why would you do that? Why would you pay billions to buy because they knew the Mandalorian. They knew that they could do stuff that would surprise us. And I was a little pessimistic. I was like, they're going to just find a way to rewrite this into more merch. Like they're going to just extract money out of this. And had I followed that side of it, I would have thought the same thing about Microsoft. They're just buying PSO2 to just extract money out of it until they've gotten their return. And that is not what Genesis looks like. Genesis looks like that's really giving this a whole new foundation to last another 10 years.
And then who knows? A new Genesis. And that's the curse of the new. Like
that's the problem with Xbox's naming conventions.
Well,
like,
the Xbox's, Nintendo's as well. Like Nintendo is like,
yeah, they never plan ahead.
Like,
it also depends on the scale of New Genesis as well, though.
Yeah, true. What do you think about the scale? Like, what would be your expectations going into it?
Because I mean, like currently we don't really know much more than they are introducing new zones into the game. These zones are, they claim that they're going to be much larger, hold additional players, that you're going to be able to there's going to be more like environmental interaction. You can jump up and down the mountains. You're not limited to just small little linear environments. So we don't know if it's just going to be like a handful of new zones, and we don't really know what the level caps is going to be like. We don't know how many or how extensive the classes are going to be, like if they're going to introduce new classes exclusively for New Genesis. Like we don't really know if they're going to focus on New Genesis as like its own game, or if they're going to focus on PSO2 and then kind of just like port things on over into New Genesis, because there is that whole interconnected core of the game where the same character can transfer between both games. So
will you guys be using that feature? Like, do you think either of you is really interested in kind of passing back and forth, or do you think it'll be like WoW, where it's like, okay, yeah, mog farming is a thing, and 1% of the population does it for the rest of us?
I want the pretties.
I mean,
because you'll keep the cosmetics that you go back and get. So if there's a cosmetic that matches something new, you may go back and farm things up for pretty things from before.
I would.
Well, there you go. She would if it's worth it. If it looks attractively enough. If it's as aesthetically appealing enough for her, she's going to farm it. She'll waste days, weeks, months in there to get it.
You know me well enough.
We did it with Final Fantasy XIV. She's gotten the outfits from every single dungeon and raid since Heaven's Word. So
that's a lot of work, because you're going for the whole set from the.
And she drags me in with her.
Nice. Where are
you keeping all of that?
Where does she keep it all in her
retainers, man?
Doesn't that become like an enormous inventory problem?
Huh?
Doesn't that become an enormous inventory problem? Like, I don't know if you play WoW with him, but like that, WoW is a much better system in that aspect.
It truly is.
It's just like their Glamour is not, the transmog is not nearly as diverse as Glamour. And you don't have dye, and you don't have the ability to kind of like swap when you swap the different specs. It's just like it kind of that you can save sets, but you got to like interact with your yak. It's clumsy in some ways, but like when you discover a new appearance, it's just there.
Permanent,
forever and ever.
Yep.
That like blew my mind, because I did Final Fantasy XIV first, and then he took me into WoW. And I was like, oh, I got this shirt and it's so cute. I want to keep it. What do I do with it? And he's like, you could just throw it away. You could sell it, whatever you want to do. And I was like,
you're done. It's already yours. And when you create a new character, congratulations, that character has its shirt already.
Yep.
You're like level 5 on a new character, and you're like, hold on, I got to stop real quick and update my shirt. Not a problem.
And I was so excited when in Final Fantasy we got more wardrobe slots. That was the best day of my life.
There's when playing because I started playing WoW with Chris back in October, and I still haven't finished Shadowlands. I'm such a multiplayer. Like if I'm playing with people, I'll play the game and have a good time. I cannot solo these games. I just am like, I'll just go play something else with friends. But it's really cool for me to have experienced WoW like so late in its life cycle, because it's like there's things that I find in Final Fantasy XIV that I'm so like, wow, like I didn't realize I was spoiled by, because in WoW you have the add-ons, and the add-on community is phenomenal. And I was like, how to do this? And Chris was like, okay, go download an add-on. I'm like, man, that's awesome that exists. And then I go to 14, it's like, oh, that just exists natively. So they can 14 can kind of be like, what are people using and needing? And it's unfortunate that in 14 we don't have that, because they're not going to leverage the creativity behind the 14 community to kind of say, oh, okay, let's go ahead and do that. A lot of people are taking advantage of it. So like the same, like in WoW's favor, like, yeah, transmog and being able to manage that as opposed to 14, like there's always this inventory crisis that no matter what, like Yoshi P comes out on stage and says, we're giving you more inventory, standing ovation, right? And then it's like, you know, oh yeah. And then he's like, and we're deleting ultimate, you know, it's like, and still he remains standing and cheering. And then somewhere in the back, a couple of raiders are crying, but oh man, it's just, it's so...
You don't even have to reboot WoW to get add-ons anymore. You just reload, you're done.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
As if that was too inconvenient.
Because I think on WoW we have like 20 add-ons.
We have too many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
20. I think I've had over 100 before.
Over 100, man.
Yeah, because some of them will have like sub add-ons, and you've got, you know, it's like, oh, this does base UI, but then these are all the different skins to that UI, and this is how that interacts with this other. Here's an add-on that makes these two add-ons talk to each other. So like you have one add-on that's checking the auction house to see what prices are. There's another one that's managing your pets. There's one that makes those talk. So in your pet menu, you can see what that pet is worth. So you can, it's amazing.
You can do it.
I hope that you really enjoyed that highlight, and I hope that you check out the full podcast. Again, link is in the description. Thanks for being here, and hope you have a fantastic day, you wonderful, beautiful individual.